It is now 4 o'clock or 4:01. I believe I am live. And if that is the case, as always, I want to wait until I hear from one of my field producers, hopefully Ryan Newfall, who is quick to say, Happy Sunday, Jose. I see you and hear you. So we're good to go. Thank you, Ryan. And I want to take this opportunity then to welcome you to this first program for November 2020. Today is Sunday, November 1st, and we had a change in time. So it is 4 o'clock, even though it would have been 5 o'clock had this been yesterday, but it's 4 o'clock today. So let's live it as it is. And I welcome you to this edition of Con Salsa live on Facebook and YouTube. I'll be here for a couple of hours, broadcasting live from our studio at home, which is D&J Studios. D for my wife, Divina, who's upstairs cooking, and yours truly downstairs with you for the next couple of hours. David Calvo says it's a rainy Sunday. Yes, yesterday was snow, and today it is rain. Eileen Collins, our dear friend, buenas tardes a ti también. So this evening or this afternoon, my guest will be, just so you know, I'm excited about this. Yesterday we had Luba Mason on with us, and today we have Carol Welsman, who is an internationally renowned pianist and singer from Canada. And she has a new CD out that she has recorded in English with some Spanish, some tunes that are Latin brand tunes, but she put some English lyrics to it. And the album is titled Dance With Me, which includes a duet with our dear friend Juan Luis Guerra. So I'm looking forward to a conversation with her and some great music. And we will also have as our guest our dear friend Oscar Hernández, who helped produce the album for Carol. So we got some good music. Share this with your friends. Have them join us so that way they can be part of this social gathering on this November 1st. We're just 2 days away from November 3rd, Election Day here in the United States, although people have been doing early voting. But we conclude all of this campaign at 8 o'clock on Tuesday, the 3rd of November. And Jose Carrasco says, Hi, Jose. Nice weather in Caguas, Puerto Rico. Gracias. Gracias, Tocayo. Bienvenidos a todos ustedes. El nombre mío es José Mazo. Otra edición en vivo de Con Salsa por Facebook y YouTube. Por favor, dejen saber a sus amistades que estamos aquí en vivo. Pueden vernos por YouTube o pueden vernos aquí en Facebook durante 2 horas y pico. Tengo como invitada a Carol Welsman, una canadiense, pianista y vocalista, quien tiene una nueva propuesta musical titulada Dance With Me, que es la canción Si No Bailas Conmigo, originalmente grabada por Juan Luis Guerra y 440. Juan Luis Guerra, dicho sea paso, comparte un dueto con Carol Welsman en esta selección musical. Víctor Rivera dice, buenas tardes. Bueno, vamos a ponerlo aquí. Nuestro primo allá en Florida. Estamos presentes en Poinciana, Florida. Otro éxodo. Us is almost here. Nos liberamos. Yeah. Y saludos, dice Aurelio Hernández. Buenas tardes a ti también, amigo y hermano. Así que ya saben, compartan esto con sus amistades para que ellos también sean parte de la actividad de hoy y escuchen la música y también aprendan sobre Carol Welsman. So share this so that your friends and family can hear the good music that we will be playing and also learn a little bit about Carol Welsman and, of course, our dear friend Oscar Hernández. So before we go to the music, and today's program is going to have sort of like a double theme. One theme will be around the fact that we will be concluding the elections on Tuesday. The other theme, of course, will be the music of Carol Welsman. So it gives you a couple of different avenues for you to join on the good and the good music and whatnot that we have to. Ellie, good to see you. Dia de los Muertos. Yes, All Saints Day. And also my dear friend Eduardo Valenzuela, who I'm dedicating this show to, by the way. I'm dedicating it to Eduardo. He is a connoisseur of fine wine, jazz, and anything that has to do with Juan Luis Guerra. So this show is dedicated to you, Eduardo. Before we go on, let's do a quick sound check. Divina's upstairs. She's watching. I hope she is. Anyway. Someday when I'm awfully low and the world is cold, I will feel a glow just thinking of you and the way you look tonight. Yes, you look lovely with your smile so warm and your cheeks so soft. There's nothing for me but to love you, Divina, just the way you look tonight. Just the way you look, Divina, tonight. I love you, mi amor. Te quiero mucho. Let's go to some music. You're going to like this song. You're going to like this song. Pay attention to the lyrics. The video that accompanies this song is beautiful. And wait till you hear it, okay? Oigan esta canción. El video que acompaña esta canción es bellísimo. Pero oigan la canción, ¿ok? Oigan.
Despierta, boricua, despierta de ese sueño que nos quitan esta tierra, de la que somos dueños por un sueño que no es nuestra realidad. Nacimos de una mezcla, de una que es perfecta, mezcla brava, mezcla bella. Somos como perla, la que siempre han querido poseer. Despierta, borinqueño. Si no lo hacemos vamos a desaparecer. Despierta, borinqueño. Prepara tu machete y manifiéstate. Ya nos quitaron todo el oro y ahora nos quitan la montaña, privatizan nuestra tierra. A cambio de migajas se nos va la identidad y es que no lo ves. No quieren que robemos más, nos quitan el dinero, 3 trabajos, poco sueldo, mientras se muere el abuelo por un virus que no pueden controlar. Ay, si pudimos en María vivir más de 4 días sin la ayuda de un gobierno, sin trabajo y sin comida, ayudándonos solos como comunidad. Y si no es suficiente el que te quiten el aliento, que te sea suficiente el que los niños tengan tiempo para poder sobrevivir en su país después de ti. Oh, despierta, borinqueño. ¿Qué más señales necesitas ver? Para entender que somos nosotros los que tenemos el poder para cambiar nuestro futuro. Despierta, borinqueño. Que el miedo no te quite la libertad.
Aquí llegó el boricua rebelde, no importa si me critican o si no me entienden. El que estudia el sistema y sus efectos y crear a mi manera mis propios conceptos. Yo no seré el mejor ni el que tiene más talento, prefiero romper la regla porque vuelvo y me la invento. Vivir mi mundo en cada momento y no ser una veleta con la que juegue el viento. Si te preguntan por qué estoy cantando esto, es que yo rompo la regla, vuelvo y me la invento. Yo no soy salsero, ni plenero, ni rockero, no soy merenguero, ni rapero, ni bombero. No sé tocar rumba, ni bachata, ni cumbia, no sé tocar ni un quinto en una columbia. Es que hoy en día todo el mundo sabe, hay muchos consejeros, pero en mi vida la que yo guío son solo pasajeros. Es que soy producto de una colonia que no se reveló. pero yo en mi rebeldía invadí al que me invadió. Y hasta en sus torres de marfil escucharán un tambor taíno, lo escucharán su madre, sus hijos y sus sobrinos, lo escucharán los pobres y hasta el rico más fino. Y se preguntarán de dónde este tipo vino. Es un boricua rebelde que viene abriéndose camino. Soy la rebeldía de un pueblo que no se rebeló, luchando con un sistema que nos esclavizó, que nos disminuye y nos colonizó. Voy como el indio taíno de frente con mi lanza, como el africano que no se cansa. Soy boricua rebelde de crianza, sonando mi tambor que siempre avanza. Yo no seré el mejor ni el que tiene más talento, prefiero romper la regla porque vuelvo y me la invento. Vivir mi mundo en cada momento y no ser una veleta con la que juegue el viento. Si te preguntan por qué estoy cantando esto, es que yo rompo la regla, vuelvo y me la invento. Y cada cual que pida a su Dios por su ayuda federal, rogando que lo traten como igual. Yo salí a ganar de su terreno para que vean lo que es bueno. Y es que la verdad no está en los libros que nos dieron, está en las palabras que no escribieron. En el entrelínea de lo escrito está el verdadero manuscrito, y a la verdad hay que darse a valer, y si no lo haces tú, ¿quién carajo lo va a hacer? Y es que yo sé que hay mucho boricua metiendo el pecho de cora, y este sistema roba, roba y te roba, por eso uno se casi se abacora, pero seguimos minuto a minuto, hora por hora. Sabemos dónde rompe la soga, siempre en lo más fino, donde la justicia no llega o se demora. Y no es cuestión de creerse mejor, es cuestión de respeto, decoro y valor. El pensar que su pueblo no puede valerse por sí mismo es tener una muleta y otro pie en el abismo. Y que venga este tipo con insultos y racismo y que no le dé vergüenza de sí mismo. Arranca por otro lado con el carimbo, es que habemos unos cuantos que no estamos en el limbo. Ay, carajo, el cinismo. Yo no seré el mejor ni el que tiene más talento, prefiero romper la regla porque vuelvo y me la invento. Vivir mi mundo en cada momento y no ser una veleta con la que juegue el viento. Si te preguntan por qué estoy cantando esto, es que yo rompo la regla, vuelvo y me la invento. Sabemos de dónde viene tu poder y tu dinero, sabemos a quién explotaste primero. Eres un ave de rapiña, pájaro de mal agüero. Fueron muchos los boricuas que pagaron con su vida y su espíritu guerrero. No vengas de abusador, no te hagas el loco, no te hagas el pendejo. Puedes contar tu dinero que tienes en el banco, pero en historia tienes cero. Yo no seré el mejor ni el que tiene más talento, prefiero romper la regla porque vuelvo y me la invento. Vivir mi mundo en cada momento y no ser una veleta con la que juegue el viento. Si te preguntan por qué estoy cantando esto, es que yo rompo la regla, vuelvo y me la invento. Llegaste con tus barcos, impusiste tu corona, te adueñaste de las playas, las montañas y las lomas. Ahora no quieres que hablemos nuestro idioma, ahora te jodiste, somos muchos caminando por tu zona. Viste, tú primero nos invadiste, haciendo una colonia a la cañona. Y este que te canta no tiene ningún diploma, no estudió ni en la Yupi, ni en Yale, ni en la Sorbona. Esto es lo que pasa si un jibarito lo arrincona. Saca su machete, habla claro y se encabrona. Y ten cuidado que de más alto han caído. Mira lo que le pasó a Roma, por creerse un imperio invencible, por creerse la más jodona. Yo no seré mejor ni el que tiene más talento, prefiero romper la regla porque vuelvo y me la invento. Vivir mi mundo en cada momento y no ser una veleta con la que juegue el viento. Si te preguntan por qué estoy cantando esto, es que yo rompo la regla, vuelvo y me la invento. Tu filosofía es el utilitarismo al revés, que la felicidad sea solo para 2 o 3, que la libertad sea solo para quien tú crees. Y los nazis racistas los cuida como sus bebés. ¿Quién lo iba a decir? Un racista en el poder, burlándose del necesitado, tirándole rollos de papel. Mientras unos cuantos se tiran un selfie con él y le dan un paseíto solo a lo que quiere ver. Ya no queda nada, ni siquiera para comer. Ya ha pasado un mes y no hay agua para beber. La bestia naranja felicita al coronel y dice que la colonia es muy cara para él. Como quiera te vamos a joder, donde quiera nos vamos a meter. Es que soy producto de una colonia que no se rebeló, pero yo en mi rebeldía invadí al que me invadió. Ya no queda nada, ni siquiera para comer. Ya no queda agua, ni siquiera para beber. La bestia naranja felicita al coronel y dice que la colonia es muy cara para él. El hombre nace libre y sin remedio. Tú escoges a tu amo o te inventas otro medio. Tú te haces y te defines, o deja que te usen para otros fines. El ser humano nace con un libro en blanco en la mano. Escribe tu propia historia antes que te coman los gusanos. ¿Será la historia de alguien lejano o la de tus compueblanos? La muerte es el suceso que angustia a todo ser humano. La libertad es el suceso que angustia solo al colonizado.
Elele, alala, necesitamos amor. Necesitamos cariño, aunque sea de lejitos, para proteger los niñitos. Anoche soñé contigo, soñé que yo te abrazaba y que el tiempo no sobraba, que no nos faltaba nada. Canta corazón, ay pulmón respira, abre tu balcón y canta la vida. Canta corazón, ay pulmón respira, viste la esperanza y hazle una armonía. Necesitamos mirarnos, aunque sea por video. Hablémonos detenido. Pon tu mano en el vidrio. Canta corazón, ay pulmón respira, abre tu balcón y canta la vida. Abre tu balcón y canta la vida.
Abre tu balcón y cántale a la vida.
Oye, abre tu balcón y canta con alegría.
Y cántale a la vida.
A todos los trabajadores, esas son la gente mía.
Y cántale a la vida.
Las caras lindas de mi gente. Black Lives Matter. Oh, yeah. From the South Bronx to the Hollywood Hills, from Santo Domingo hasta la Ciudad de México, a través de todas las fronteras, desde tu casa a la mía, un abrazo social. From a distance, we don't have to be in the same room to be unidos en un sentido común. Together, we raise our voices and our fists for justice. Unidos, we change the world.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. Was grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear, the hour I first believed. Through many dangers, toils, and snares, I have already come. 'Twas grace that brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun. We've no less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun. Hallelujah, hallelujah, amen. Hallelujah, hallelujah, amen. Hallelujah,
This is a prayer for everybody in the world, 'cause I am you and you are me, and we need each other. This is a prayer for everybody in the world, a prayer for you, a prayer for me, a prayer for love and harmony, a prayer for light that all may see, a prayer that someday we'll all be free. 'Cause there's a lot that's wrong, we must be strong and not become bitter. If there's a chance that mankind will profit, why should we stop at something new or old if it will make us better? This is a prayer for everybody in the world, 'cause without you and without me, without love and harmony, without courage and dignity, what would it mean to be free? There's a lot that's wrong, we must be strong and not become bitter. If there's a chance that mankind will profit, why should we scoff at something new or old if it will make us better? This is a prayer for everybody in the world, 'cause without you and without me, without love and harmony, without courage and dignity, what would it mean to be free? What would it mean to be free? To be free. La 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 la. Shabba-dabba, la 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 la.
right. As I said, today's program would take two different routes, but we're all going to get to the same place. Trust me. We are going to create our community on this Sunday, November 1st, so that we will be ready and strong in spirit, in heart, in mind, and in speech, and in action for the next few days here in the United States and abroad. My name is Salsa. Welcome again to tonight's edition of Con Salsa Facebook and YouTube Live. This is program number 59. Ya llevamos 59 programas en vivo en Facebook y YouTube. Gracias a cada uno de ustedes por ser parte de la familia Con Salsa. Altagracia. Saludos allá en Nueva York, de parte de Divina, que se encuentra arriba. Salsa Caliche, gracias. Tremenda voz, ¿verdad? Que tiene Whitney Phillips, la persona que cantó Amazing Grace, Whitney Phillips. Esa última canción, dicho sea de paso, el cantante es un jazzista. Su nombre, para que sepan, es Giacomo Gates. Y el disco, la canción This is a Prayer for Everybody to Be Free, viene del disco The Revolution Will Be Jazz, the songs of Gil Scott-Heron. That last song that you heard right there, that jazz singer is Giacomo Gates. The album The Revolution Will Be Jazz, the songs of the great Gil Scott-Heron, the selection titled This is a Prayer for Everybody to Be Free. And I dedicate that prayer and that song to each and every one of you. So we heard Han Dado La Señal, which started off the show, Ben Ramos. It's a beautiful video. If you can see it, vean el video de Ben Ramos, Han Dado La Señal, que fue lo que comenzó el programa esta tarde. Paoli Mejías, Boricua Rebelde, Cántale a la Vida con Flaco Navaja, un arreglo de nuestro amigo Oscar Hernández. Y entonces escuchamos Whitney Phillips, Amazing Grace, y This is a Prayer for Everybody to Be Free. Así que ya lo tienen. That's all I set the stage for today, but we will be hearing from Carol Welsman soon. She's already backstage. She'll be joining us in about 20-25 minutes or so. So we have some time before she will join us. In the meantime, share this with your friends. Let people know that we're on this cold November 1st here in New England. It snowed yesterday and rained today. And so therefore, I'm hoping that you're home in a warm place in shelter. And once again, happy birthday to our dear friend Alex Rodriguez, who celebrated his birthday yesterday. And to Betty, thank you for organizing such a great Zoom birthday party. Let's continue more music right here on Con Salsa.
Y te dijeron que lo más grande de la vida recuerdo aquí en mi corazón, poco de una rumba buena que se está formando. Marca mi destino como el callejón, pasos y aguaceros, voces que se van sumando. Oye,
traigo vino,
oye, de la Rioja del camino.
Traigo vela,
ay, de la que dura la noche entera.
Traigo vino,
vino, vino, vino, vino, vino.
Traigo vela,
ay, la rumba buena. Ese sentimiento que me ha regalado la cuna de la raza, mami, el conocimiento. Boom, boom, sigue creciendo, tengo un gran recuerdo aquí en mi corazón, chama, te lo estoy diciendo, regalando, comprimiendo, ay.
Traigo vino,
oye, de la Rioja del camino.
Traigo vela,
ay, pa' abajo en la escalera.
Traigo vino,
vino, vino, vino, vino, vino, vino.
Traigo vela,
oye, también traigo rumba buena.
Ae,
ae. Son los momentos, mira, de la infancia que recordaré.
Ae,
tanta pasión que compartí, tanta disfraz de carnaval.
ae,
regalo de la rumba buena que mi alma necesita.
ae,
un beso de amor a la luz de la luna, pelo suelto y margarita. Ae, ae, ae. los 70, mira, acabando. Ese sentimiento que me ha regalado la cuna de la raza, toda el conocimiento. Bum bum sigue creciendo, tengo un gran recuerdo aquí en mi corazón, nena, te lo estoy diciendo. Ay, ay, no vale.
Traigo vino,
Oye, mira más tu destino.
traigo vela,
Ay, de la que dura la noche entera.
traigo vino,
Vino, vino, vino, vino, vino, vino.
traigo vela,
Ay, también traigo rumba buena.
ae,
Ay, 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 la chancelona.
ae,
Carnaval 76 por las calles de Nueva Gerona.
ae,
Triunfa en la televisión, concurso de baile con muchachas monas.
ae,
Ay, yo tengo un amor que me quiere, no sé. Agua. Solo sé que tengo un amor más. Rumba buena, carnavales. Oye.
ae,
Y dale bomba, tú ves.
ae,
Cosa.
ae,
Yo tengo un amor
ae,
que me quiere, no sé. Solo sé que yo tengo un amor. Rumbero. Yo tengo un amor que me quiere, no sé. Llévame a la fiesta. Solo sé que yo tengo un amor. Oye, ay mira, llévame a la discoteca buena. Ay mira,
me quiere, no sé.
sácame,
Solo sé que yo tengo un amor.
Ay, a que tú veas lo que me lo vale.
que me quiere, lo sé,
Oye,
solo sé que yo tengo un amor.
y con esto me despido. Viento para ti, tiempo para mí.
And so, look who's here. Huh? How you like them apples, as they say. Say hello.
Saludos y bendiciones, familia con salsa. Los quiero mucho a todos.
My beautiful wife came down. She saw me dancing, but she caught me right when the song ended. If not, we would have been dancing together right here in the D&J studio, enjoying the music on this cold Sunday. Así que, mi querida esposa divina, aquí la ven, que pasó por aquí para saludar. Mira, Aileen te dice hola. Johnny Giraldo te dice, there she is. Gran saludo a Divina. Mike Viñas te estás saludando también. Aileen Collins, cuties, besos a ambos. Salsa Caliche dice, qué bella esposa. Sí, está mi querida Divina. Nina Garfunkel, Nina la cubana, también está en sintonía. Kathy, it's always good to see you. Kathy says hi. Vivian Ibáñez Torres, saluditos a ambos, Vivian. Qué bien, qué chévere. Ay, qué lindo está eso. Bueno, saludos a cada uno de ustedes. Don't forget to close the door. Thank you. Víctor Rivera también te manda saludos, tu primo. Yeah, Víctor, te manda saludos. Víctor, te viene a mandar saludos. Ah, espera.
Te quiero mucho, primo. Cuídate.
Bueno, ahí están. Am I not the most blessed man? I mean, I shouldn't say that. I am a blessed man. I'm not the most. I am a blessed man. And to have that surprise visit from Divina, that made my day right there. But we heard Kelvis Ochoa doing a song, Viento y Tiempo, a song that he wrote and recorded originally. And now is, let me see who does that. Gonzalo Rubalcaba does that with Aimee Nubiola off their new album. Matter of fact, that's the title track off their new album recorded in Tokyo at the Blue Note. So, Diana Torres también dice, saludos, gracias a ti. Aileen dice, ya sabes, you need besitos, but put Divina on air. Ay, qué rico. David Romero dice, la Divina trae la belleza de la familia. Sí, señor, de acuerdo, 100%. Ceci and Johnny, hello, beautiful lady. Thank you so much. So where was I? I was going to say something, and I just sort of like lost it after Divina came down. I just lost my, oh no, I didn't. Here's the deal. So many of the people I engage with have expressed an anxiety about the times we're living. It starts off for them with the disruption of COVID-19, sequenced by the murder of George Floyd, and therefore the attention needed for social justice, racial justice, equity, inclusion, diversity, and Black Lives Matter. And then, of course, the economic situation around the United States and the world has been impacted by COVID-19 and businesses shutting down, many people losing their jobs. Yesterday, we had Luba Mason, who spoke about having been on a play on Broadway and lasted a week before they had closed down. So who knows when they'll be able to work again. And that's just an example. Imagine all the other people, regardless of what type of work they do, who have lost their jobs. And now we come to this moment, which is November 3rd, that ends the elections. So this morning, I went through my usual routine of my prayers and meditation. And when I prayed and meditated this morning, I've shared this with you before. I asked, please let me have a day in which everything I say, do, think, and feel are in sync. Let me have a day today where everything I say, feel, do, and think are in sync. And then I asked that I have an opportunity to engage with other people, men and women, regardless if they're here or around the world, who share the same values as I do, wanting to leave this place a better place for our children and their children and other children, better than what it was when we were born. And then I continue with my meditation, and I ask that I please be given an opportunity to work with other men and women who share these values so that our children will be healthy. And I don't just mean physically healthy, I mean mentally healthy, emotionally healthy, culturally healthy, socially healthy, intellectually healthy, economically healthy, and also spiritually healthy. And then at the end, I ask, please, whatever happiness I receive today, let it not be as a consequence of somebody else's misery. Whatever happiness I receive today, let it not be as a consequence of somebody else's misery. And I concluded by doing my breathing, in which when I breathe in peace. And when I breathe out love. So I share that with you because the music for today that I'm sharing with you, and hopefully a conversation with Carol and Oscar, will bring us to that moment in which all of us will be in sync mentally, physically, emotionally, and verbally for the next few days, because we're going to need to be as strong as possible. Let's hear this track, and then later we'll do a little bit of conversation, right?
Balubiu, shaburua, balubiu, shabarabaraburua.
Cuando pienso en ti, esa primera vez que yo te vi,
Turua, tua, birua.
yo recuerdo bien la emoción, el latir de mi corazón. Así sucedió.
Burubiribiribiri, burubapau. Tu sonrisa fue como la flor más bella celestial. ¡Qué felicidad!
Emoción es lo que siento en mi cuerpo, es amor lo que yo siento en mi corazón. Birua, tua, tua, biribirua. Como un sueño fue tan bello ver tu sonrisa y sentir la esperanza así. Desde ese día nuestro amor fue la más grande bendición. Tenerte a ti hasta la eternidad, logré mi felicidad. Sí,
Tu mirada fue de lo más bello como un cielo azul que llenó mi ser.
emoción es lo que siento en mi cuerpo, es amor lo que yo siento en mi corazón. Birua, tua, tua, biribirua. Shaburua, biru, 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 shaburua. Biru, 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 shaburua. Biru, 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 shaburua. Hoy me siento feliz, quiero vivir de amor y celebrar por fin nuestro romance divino. Quiero cantarte mi prenda querida, por esos años que le das a mi vida, por los que faltan, por los que vendrán, y el tiempo que te tenga te voy a adorar. Hoy me siento feliz, quiero vivir de amor y celebrar por fin nuestro romance divino.
Analiza, corazón, y date cuenta que por cosas del destino tú cruzaste en mi camino para ser mi bella prenda.
Hoy me siento feliz, quiero vivir de amor y celebrar por fin nuestro romance divino.
Hoy celebro tu sonrisa y brindo por tu mirada, aunque la cosa esté dura. Cuando estoy al lado tuyo, mami, no me preocupo por nada. Enamórala, Oscar. Juega yo.
Hoy me siento feliz, quiero vivir de amor y cantaré para ti, cuidaré de tu amor y el último beso para ti, mi amor. Hoy me siento feliz, quiero vivir de amor
Para conquistar tus besos y yo robarme tu corazón.
Hoy me siento feliz, quiero vivir
Oye,
de amor.
y es que cuando pienso en ti, abandono la tristeza que un día mi alma llevó.
Shaburua, balubiu, biru, shaburua, balubiu, shaburua, balubiu, biru, shaburua, balubiu, shabarabaraburua, bau, bau.
Ayude a prevenir el COVID-19 con distanciamiento social. Use el teléfono, FaceTime o mensajes en línea para comunicarse con sus amigos y familiares. Quédese en su casa el mayor tiempo posible. No se reúna en grupos. Manténgase a una distancia de 6 pies o 2 metros de las demás personas. Evite estrechar las manos o dar abrazos. Y por favor, continúe lavándose las manos con frecuencia. Visite mass.gov/COVID-19 o llame al 211. Un mensaje del Departamento de Salud Pública de Massachusetts.
The moon and the stars will be shining above. Now's the time for romance. That club in Havana's the place that I love. So let's go and let's dance. Feel the temperature rising when we dance cha-cha-cha. Hips are so hypnotizing, I just can't get enough. Your body will sway to the beat of my heart. I get lost in your eyes. So move me like this and the passion will start as the night comes alive. Feel the temperature rising when we dance cha-cha-cha. Hips are so hypnotizing, I just can't get enough. It's time to dance the cha-cha-cha with me. It's time to dance with me, my love.
Ya llegó la hora. Time to dance cha-cha-cha.
With my heart and soul I will be dancing. Come and take me by the hand, my love.
Ya llegó la hora. Time to dance cha-cha-cha.
Con mi cha-cha-cha vamos a bailar. Con este ritmo sabroso me vas a enamorar. The music's starting, let the night begin. I feel this rhythm deep within.
Ya llegó la hora. Time to dance cha-cha-cha.
When I hear the cha-cha-cha, the passion will spark. Come and dance with me and we'll never part.
Ya llegó la hora. Time to dance cha-cha-cha. Johnny Giraldo asks, who is on flute? None other than Justo Almario, one of the greats, who also plays tenor and soprano sax on this album. We'll be talking about who are the musicians who perform on this new recording by Carol. Oscar Hernández is also backstage. I'm going to bring Carol momentarily. Let me just give you a rundown of what we heard. Vamos a un minuto antes que venga Carol. Escucharon en ese set musical Viento y Tiempo, Kelvis Ochoa, Luego escucharon Ponce Magistral de Manuel Maneco Ruiz. Esa canción, dicho sea de paso, es una composición de nuestro amigo Oscar Hernández. Maneco en la trompeta junto a su padre José Pucho Ruiz. Oscar en el piano. José Tavares en el bajo, percusión Bobby Allende. La mezcla es de Jimmy Brantley, quien es el que toca batería con Carol Welsman y también con Oscar Hernández. Escuchamos después de esta canción que dedico a toda la gente de Ponce, todos los leones de Ponce, especialmente mi querida esposa divina, quien es de Ponce, para la familia allá en Ponce, Ponce Magistral para ustedes. Y luego escuchamos Romance Divino, que dedico a mi querida esposa divina también, otra composición y propuesta musical de nuestro amigo Oscar Hernández. Y de ahí pasamos a Ritmo para ti, de nuevo Oscar Hernández. Y Time to Dance Cha Cha Cha, ya llegó la hora. Producción de Oscar, la voz de Carol Welsman, su nueva propuesta musical. And the reason for all those songs is just to let you know, Oscar Hernández has been a busy man during the last 10 months. He has not been idle. He's been busy. And when we get to talk to him, we'll see how busy he has been. In any case, I said earlier that I shared my meditation with you for a reason, because I'm hoping that all of us use this time to prepare ourselves for Tuesday, and later I'll speak a little bit more about that. One of the books that I've been reading to try to inspire myself has been the speeches of Barack Obama, and there are plenty of them, and especially his last speech, which was the speech he gave after leaving office, which I will try to quote for you during the program today. But now I want to do something else. I want to bring our special guest on. She is joining us from LA, Studio City. Ladies and gentlemen, will you please welcome Carol? I will say to you what I say to all my guests. I don't have an applause machine. That's not the kind of program I have. And so therefore, the people who are watching will give you their applause as they send it, and letting you know that you are so welcome, and so much joy in having you in this program today. I've been looking forward to you joining us. So thank you for accepting the invitation. Of course, I'm looking forward to Scott joining us moments later. But thank you. And how are you? Let's start off with that. How have you been? You doing okay?
I'm doing okay, and thank you for having me, Jose. I love your show, and I was sitting here grooving backstage, and I was getting excited about coming on. So everything's good, as good as can be expected. It's just a little strange to be. I was talking to Oscar this morning, and we just said, wow, we can't do what we love to do, which is perform. But anyway.
Well, it's good that you were able at least to share your music with us. But before we get to that, there's a couple of things. So here's Oscar saying, thanks, Jose. Excited to be on with amazing Carol Welsman. Here's some people giving you applause of welcoming. Alexis, Eileen gives you welcoming. Ceci and Johnny in California. David Romero in Las Vegas. Victor Rivera in Florida. Eileen here in Massachusetts. Johnny Giraldo, Massachusetts. And okay, good for you. So Renee Camacho, here's one more person. Just
Renee.
Okay, Renee Camacho, give me Camacho. So let's talk a little bit, because this is the first time you've been on the air with me, and this may be the first time many people even find out about you. Although I shared one of the reviews of the CD, which I thought was a great review, by the way, but it speaks a little bit about your trajectory, if you will, as a musician. But why don't we start with that? So you're Canadian. Let's start off with that. Let's establish that fact. Yes,
I am Canadian, and I'm a proud American too. I have to say so. Okay. And I've been living down here for almost 20 years now. But yes, I do come from. Well, it's getting cold up there now. I was going to say a little bit of freezing Canada. It's nice to be in the warm sun, I have to say.
And so when was it that you started playing piano? And then when was it that the vocal part came into your life?
Well, actually, the piano came first because my mother used to teach piano before she was married. And I have 3 brothers, and she said to my dad, I think the kids should all study classical piano. Mm-hmm. And so I was listening to my older brothers playing, and I was trying to figure out, even at 3 years old, what they were doing. I couldn't reach the pedals of the piano, but I think I started lessons at around 5. And then I started to sing more with the guitar, because we all studied guitar as well. And so it was probably when I was about 12 or 13, I really started to love jazz and start singing, accompanying myself.
So one of your brothers, Paul, is here, and he says hi to my sister Carol. So
Hi,
there's
Paul. He's up in Toronto.
Okay. And so when you were playing and jazz came into your life, who were the jazz musicians maybe that you were listening to play piano, and who were some of the vocalists that you were listening to back then?
Well, actually, I have to tell you, I started listening to big band jazz because my dad was a huge big band fan, and he took me to Woody Herman concerts when I was 12. I went to see Count Basie with him, and he saw Duke Ellington in Toronto. I wasn't able to go to that one. And then he had a lot of Peggy Lee albums and Frank Sinatra. He was a huge fan of Bossa Nova, Sergio Mendes, and so I started to listen to the music that he loved because I was the only girl and did everything that my dad wanted to do. So I just followed him around and listened to the same music. So, but then I branched out. The first album I ever bought was Ella Fitzgerald and Oscar Peterson, and then Joe Pass and Ella, and so I was a huge Ella fan and Sarah Vaughan, and very influenced by them. And piano players, Keith Jarrett, Herbie Hancock. Those are two of my favorites. Bill Evans as well.
Bill Evans. There you go.
Especially when I was at Berkeley, I listened a lot to Bill Evans.
And when was it you were here at Berkeley?
81 and 82. And so that's a long time ago. I'm afraid to say.
We'll say it wasn't a long time ago, but it was. And so, when I think of jazz singers and I think of jazz pianists, it always intrigues me how someone like you, from Canada, living in the United States for so many years, listening to this great music, which is called jazz, then all of a sudden, although you mentioned your father in Bossa Nova, acquires that taste to start singing in other languages, and in particular in Spanish, in which you're fluent, by the way. Para que sepan la gente que estén mirando, esta joven, Carol Welsman, es bueno, era más joven que yo. Es joven y no solamente canta y habla en inglés, siendo de Canadá y ciudadana de los Estados Unidos, sino también en otros idiomas, incluyendo el español. Así que vamos a hablar un poco en español para que ustedes también sean parte de la conversación. Entonces, ¿cómo es que entra el español a tu persona?
Yo tuve la posibilidad de estudiar el francés en la escuela en Canadá, porque tenemos 2 idiomas en Canadá, y después continué mis estudios en París con la hermana de Michel Legrand, y aprendí bien el francés. Después viví en Italia y aprendí el italiano, pero aquí en Los Ángeles uno tiene que aprender el español, se habla solo español aquí. Entonces, estudio todos los lunes, tengo una clase avanzada y hablamos y estudiamos la gramática y todo, y me encanta.
Qué bien. Y dentro del estudio del idioma, ¿cómo es que tú adaptas la cultura que va con el idioma? En el sentido París, Francia, Italia y ahora en Los Ángeles el español. Es una cosa hablarlo, pero también es entender y apreciar la cultura. ¿Cómo es en el caso tuyo?
Es a través de la música que se entiende la cultura y es muy importante porque aquí yo tengo músicos, por ejemplo, en Francia tenía músicos franceses y italianos, pero aprendía las canciones del lugar. Por ejemplo, canciones en francés encantan mucho a la gente francesa, y también en Italia era igual. Y entonces todos los ritmos brasileros, boleros, me encantaban desde muy pequeña, como la bossa nova, la samba. Aprendí una canción a 11 años, aprendí más que nada en portugués. No sé por qué, porque era un sonido muy, muy bonito. Entonces, ahora entiendo más la cultura latina porque tengo Jimmy Brantley a la batería, René Camacho al bajo, Oscar como productor, justo estoy con músicos bravísimos que son latinos. Y y dividen, compartan los ritmos buenos y por años escuché esos ritmos y ahora tento de hacerlos.
Bueno, aquí te dicen perfecto español, así que las clases
Wow.
ya pasaste. Y aquí otro amigo quien vive en Italia, saluda a Carol, acuerda la gira que hizo en Italia con la orquesta jazz siciliana. Una percusionista de la fundación, the Brass Group Orchestra. So he's a percussionist with them. And remember your and then we have a saludo coming to you from Bogotá. Our dear friend Pedro Salsa te da saludos. You mentioned your drummer, Jimmy. And for those who don't know, Jimmy Brantley, you see the name, many of you, and you may assume, right, the name like Jimmy Brantley, that who's Jimmy Brantley? He's another drummer who's played with, I can't tell you how many groups this man has played with, but he's Cuban. He's Cuban, and he's one of those talented drummers that can play straight ahead jazz, pop, you name what it is, he's played it, and he can play it like if it's, drinking a cup of coffee. Tell us a little bit about the band that participates in this particular album that you have shared with us, Dance With Me.
Well, I have to say, I owe it to Jimmy Brantley because Jimmy and I have been playing together for almost 15 years, and Renee and I as well. But Jimmy particularly said, Carol, you have to do an album of boleros and cha-cha-chas and a real Latin jazz album. And he said, as much as I'd like to produce it, I want you to talk to my friend Oscar Hernández, but he said he's a 4-time Grammy winner. He is a great arranger and a great producer. And I already knew Oscar. We had met. So it was sort of a natural thing to get together. Well, Jimmy and Oscar and I discussed repertoire and all that. But Jimmy really introduced me to the music of Benny Moré from Cuba, and many boleros that I would never have heard of, and different styles of different rhythms to play on the piano before Oscar actually taught me how to do the montuno. So I feel blessed because I've been around, this, and it suddenly came to fruition. We were able to talk about all the repertoire in the fall, and Oscar started writing arrangements, and we started doing a bit of recording in January. But it's been so much fun because Renee's singing Renee Camacho is actually singing on Cha 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 on the tune with Joy de Leon. And so again, just getting together with these guys and rehearsing and having percussion for the first time along with drums, and then having Justo on everything. I mean, flute and saxophones. He's such a sweetheart. I just felt like I was floating on a cloud through the whole production. It was really fun.
So you mentioned Jimmy introduced you to Benny Moré. Have you been to Cuba?
I have been to Cuba, finally.
And tell us about that experience when you went in general.
Well, I had a very brief, for a brief time, I had a radio show on Jazz FM 91 in Toronto, and they take their top donors to Cuba every year in January for a week's vacation, and they treat them like gold and have a great time. And so I was asked to come and host the trip. And so we were in Varadero. And so we went into Havana one day, but I have to say that I haven't seen a lot of Cuba. I wish I had been able to, but I did hear a lot of music because Jane Bennett was there with Maqueque, and a beautiful singing group from Camagüey came to perform, and then we also performed during the week. So, but I absolutely sensed the Cuban culture and the warmth of the people and how proud they are and how. It was a lovely experience.
Oh, good for you. Yeah, Cuba is like I told Jane and others, I was fortunate. Something similar to you at the radio station. We did a similar type. We used to call Citizens of the World. We'll do yearly trips. So we went to Cuba in 2001, 2002, 2003, and I was the host. And I made a deal with them. I said, okay, I'll be the host, but my wife has to come along. And so if she didn't come along, I wasn't going to go. So she would accompany me for all the different trips that we did. And the first trip that we did, it was one of those things, I'm looking for Ibrahim Ferrer. And finally we found Ibrahim Ferrer and went to his house. And, we had everybody that was part of the trip. And we're hanging out, etc. And then he kicked everybody. He says to me, he pulled me over. He says, look, let these people go, but I want you and your wife to stay. And I said, really? He says, yeah. So I told my friends who were part of the tour, hey, listen, it's time to go, but he wants us to stay. I apologize. And then we were there so late, but it was so great. But you're right. I mean, the hospitality and their sense of humor and their tenacity and all these and the great music everywhere you went was just marvelous. I mean, it was, I've never been the same since all of my trips to Cuba. It's never can be the same. So here's a comment in French. Listen to this.
Tu étais très talentueux et bénie femme. Merci beaucoup. C'est très gentil.
I love it. All right. Ana Carrillo says Varadero. Yes, Varadero, Cuba. And so in putting together the CD, you got your personnel. Jimmy's helping you. Obviously, you identify Oscar and you start going through the material you want. As far as the recordings, we heard Time to Dance Cha-Cha-Cha. What's interesting of the CD is that these are, for the most part, selections that would be sung in Spanish, but you've done a great job of translating them or adapting them to English, right? So Time to Dance Cha-Cha-Cha. Ya llegó la hora para bailar cha-cha-cha. And then English adaptation by Carol Welsman and some Joe Perry. But talk about how you did that transition from Spanish language, which you understand, and translating it and singing it in English.
Well, it's interesting because we actually started these translations, these adaptations really, back in, I think it was around 2012 or 13, because we had a plan to go to Cuba with Jimmy. We actually sent him down to do some production work and some research, and he wanted to get together a video crew and have me sing some duets with some famous Cuban singers. Wow. And we were going to take Al Jarreau down there, and he agreed to come down. He had never been to Cuba. So unfortunately, due to many, many different reasons, the trip did not transpire. But we had already done these adaptations of these beautiful songs. And, as much as I love to speak Spanish and I sing the occasional thing in Spanish, I think I'm more believable in English just because I'm English speaking. So I didn't want to pretend that So when I showed Oscar these songs that we had already done, he said, these are perfect. This is a great idea. They're beautiful songs. They're well known. And, he'll put his spin on it, arranging wise, and I can sing them in English. So we took the approach of writing them almost like they were standards, as far as the lyrics go. Very, I call them elegant lyrics. They're suitable to the kind of music of the 40s and 50s and like the Great American Songbook. So that's what happened.
No, y'all picked some good ones. In a little bit, we're going to be hearing Como Fue, which was recorded by Benny Moré, and you've given a title, I think it's Yesterday. Is that what we're calling it? Yesterday, which is an example of what we're talking about, in which you adapt the song and then put it in your own lyrics and singing it in English. So I'm thinking, I was reading the review in which you have, as part of your repertoire, have performed around the world, and that many times people will come to you after the concert and comment about you singing in Spanish and how that impressed them, but also that was part of what they loved the most about your concerts. Share a little bit about how that really influenced what we're doing today.
Well, they not only say that they like the music in Spanish, but they love the Latin rhythms, whether they are, if it's a salsa tune or if it's a samba or, the bossa nova. They seem to always want to know. They come to the CD table and they say, which album has all those Latin songs on? So I kept hearing this and I'm thinking, why am I continuing to do swing albums, with an occasional samba on it? So that was really the inspiration behind, again, focusing this album on just doing nothing but that, and really in a traditional way where I have all the people around me who know this music backwards and it can really make me feel comfortable.
There you go. Hold on. Here we go.
Yesterday, do you remember yesterday? we ever grow apart. Now all we have is yesterday. They say that midnight brings a new day. Every morning I feel blue. There's no love in my tomorrow. It's always been you. My heart's been true since yesterday.
¿Cómo fue? I love it.
Just
I love
take
it.
my hand and I'll lead the way. I want a lover, not a friend. Come back with me to yesterday. They say that midnight brings a new day. Every morning I feel blue. There's no love in my tomorrow. It's always been you. My heart's been true since
¿Cómo fue?
yesterday.
Bueno, mi gente, ahí están escuchando a nuestra invitada Carol cantando la canción ¿Cómo fue? Originalmente grabada por el gran Benny More, en esta ocasión con letra en inglés de nuestra invitada Carol Welsman, quien figura en el piano, arreglo de Oscar Hernández, en la flauta justo al Mario. Bellísima esa selección musical. ¿Cómo fue? Yesterday. From the new album that we are sharing with you this afternoon, and it's titled Dance With Me, Carol Welsman. The selection Yesterday. ¿Cómo fue? I could see you in La Habana singing that song. I could see
Wow.
I could see that happening. I could see that happening. I could see you in the Teatro Nacional. I'm sorry, in El Hotel Nacional, singing that in the patio that they have in the backyard. Beautiful rendition. Beautiful rendition. So.
Thank you.
So you get the group together, you have the selections together, and you were already working on this. Obviously, Oscar is an important part of this because he does the arrangements and starts thinking, what the concept, what it's going to look like, et cetera, et cetera. At a time that you are doing this, we are still before, and a comment here from Victor, beautiful arrangement along with a melodic voice. Yes, I agree with that 100%. So this is happening before COVID-19.
Mm-hmm.
And so what shifts did you have to take post-March? In other words, as you were, doing all the production and everything like that and planning out 2020, how did you have to pivot when March came along?
Well, first of all, I've left out a really, really important part of this album because one of my favorite songs on the album is by Juan Luis Guerra.
That's coming.
And okay. Well, then I'll answer your question.
Yeah.
I'll be
We're going to get to that.
okay.
Yeah.
So basically what we did is we did a Kickstarter campaign in February, not knowing that we were going to shut down, and we actually got in to do some bed tracks in early March. Literally the first week of March. I knew that we were getting funded. Things were going really well. The campaign was going really well. And I said to the guys, listen, let's just go in and do this because everybody seemed to be in town for 3 or 4 of those days. So we went in and tracked, especially for the song that we'll talk about in a minute. And so we got fairly far down the road. And then I ended up getting sick with a cold. I actually went up to Canada and I had a concert just before the shutdown. And so I couldn't sing. I couldn't do any of the vocal tracks. So fast forward into June, I actually went up to Canada And I worked in a studio called The Garage and did most of my vocals. And we had Oscar remotely because I had to quarantine in Canada for 2 weeks. I couldn't go anywhere. So COVID hit. I mean, it was a big deal. The only song we finished, the only song I actually sang before the shutdown was "Dance with Me," because of what you're going to ask me or what we're going to talk about. Yeah. So the rest of it was all sort of piecemeal because I had to take the tracks to Canada, and we did a lot of overdubs there, but mostly all the vocals, and then mixing remotely, and then mastering remotely. So it was a challenge. I've never gone through that before.
No, I can imagine. And, having spoken to Oscar a couple times now during the last couple months in which he's done, and I shared the tracks with people during that first hour that you heard, where he's producing music using technology, using everything he can, and all the musicians leaning in and doing all the great work. And Jim has been, I think, instrumental in a lot of the things that as the final products are. But Oscar is one who quickly adapted to what do we need to do to make this happen, and how is technology going to help us, and let's make it happen, right? And so he's been banging out these products that I sit here and I just shared, 3 or 4, and it seems like there's one coming out every month, and I'm like, okay, what else? Before you know, he's going to have a whole album because everything he's just coming out with, creating some great music, and it's technology, right? You wouldn't think it was something that he's got musicians in New York, and then he's in LA, and he's got musicians in LA, and he's been able to put it all together to sound so great. Before we bring Oscar on, and then we're going to go to the title track. So a dear friend of ours, who I'm going to show you in a second, I think I have his picture, this gentleman right here, Eduardo Valenzuela, is a dear friend of our dear friend, Juan Luis Guerra. And this was when Juan Luis was in Boston last year, for his concert tour at the Againist Arena. And I had produced the first 3 concerts of Juan Luis Guerra here in Boston. The first one would be in at Berkeley Performance Center, which he was dying to perform at because he went to Berkeley and he wanted to do a show there. So that was the first one. But when Oscar Sola let it slip, there was I don't know how he shared this. I think he may have put it on Facebook or something. He says, I'm producing this new album with Carol Welsman, and Juan Luis Guerra is the guest. And I went, really? Okay. That's interesting. Who is Carol Welsman? I've never heard of Carol Welsman, but that's interesting that, because he's done a lot of duos with other people, duets, et cetera, et cetera. So how is it that our dear Juan Luis Guerra comes into your life?
Wow. Well, it was sort of a miracle. I was performing in Santo Domingo in 2017 in March. Actually, we played the Haiti Jazz Festival, and then my dear friend Corey Allen, pianist and beautiful musician who was living in Santo Domingo, organized a concert for me there and a master class. So down I went. And before I got there, he said, do you know who Juan Luis Guerra is? And I said, well, I do by name, but I'm not terribly familiar with his music at that point. Because, a lot of Latin music we don't necessarily hear unless we're listening to your show. I mean, as far as there's there's jazz and there's Latin jazz, and they don't always meet. And so, and of course, he's bachata and everything else. It's so beautiful what he does. So I started listening to his music. He said, you should listen to his music because I have played him some of the tracks from my Alone Together album. Corey produced the album, and Juan Luis was studying jazz piano with Corey. So he organized this beautiful get-together at Juan Luis's house. And Juan Luis invited his whole band over, and we had the most beautiful afternoon. We all played and shared songs, and lots of people sang and jammed, and it was just so beautiful. And I stayed in touch with Juan Luis. I sent him some things that I'd learned on the piano that I thought he might like. So we fast forward to last fall, and I suddenly thought, I said to Oscar, he wrote this song called Si Tú No Bailas Conmigo, and I love the song. And Oscar said, well, maybe why don't you just write an English lyric to it then? So I did, following suit with all the beautiful boleros and everything. So I sent a little demo that I did to Juan Luis in early January, and he wrote back and said he loved it, and said, "Oh, you've captured the nuances in like you did in the Spanish lyric." And so I then thought of this. I just thought, wow, I wonder what he would say if I ever asked him to sing a duet with me on this album, and he could sing in Spanish. And I wrote to him, and he said yes. And I just about died and went to heaven. That was it. Because even Oscar said to me, he said, Juan Luis said yes. He was sort of amazed. So I feel so grateful that and not only that, he's in the video. We have a video.
Yeah, the video is great. The video is great. I love the video. I can imagine it now. He gets the message and he, Nora, mira, Carol me invitó que cantara una cancioncita con ella. Creo que voy a cantar con ella. Sí, Juan Luis, claro, ¿por qué no? Sí, sería bellísimo con Carol. Ella es tremenda persona. Canta muy bien y me encantó cuando vino de visita. I can see Nora just them having that conversation. So yeah, it was a no-brainer. That was like quick one. Yeah, let's do this. Let's do this. And so at this moment, I'm going to invite Oscar to join us before we hear Juan Luis and you doing this duet. And the video, by the way. Damas y caballeros, la canción que vamos a escuchar es la canción titular del disco Dance With Me, en el cual Carol canta en inglés, Juan Luis en español. La canción originalmente grabada por Juan Luis, Si Tú No Bailas Conmigo. Pero la vamos a escuchar interpretada por ambos de la propuesta musical de Carol Welsman, que es el disco que le acabo de mostrar. Carol Welsman, Dance With Me, en el cual Juan Luis participa como artista invitado. Y ahora vamos a traer a nuestro otro amigo. Let's bring our other friend, my dear, the one and only, there he is, Oscar Hernández. So, Oscar, how are you, my friend?
I'm great. Just having a ball listening to both of you, the questions and the answers. I'm like a kid in a candy store going like, wow, awesome, enjoying it totally. And I'm so honored. When I think of Carol, she's everything that's right about an artist. She's got incredible sensibility. And I knew this before I worked with her because I had listened to some of the stuff Jimmy turned me on. And I remember being in his house going like, wow, that's absolutely beautiful. Oh my God, play it again. He played it again. I was like, my hair stands up. I'm not lying. So I was a fan. And then when he told me, look, about the possibility, I said, hell yes. And then Carol and I got together and true to form, like everything else she's done. I mean, you're just listening to this record, but she has an amazing track record of beautiful music. I'm telling you, people who are listening, beautiful music that you can go in and tune in and you'll have a blast just listening to what an amazing artist she is. So I won't say anymore. That's it.
No. There's more to that. But before we continue, let's just let you know, Heriberto Martinez Britton, saludos maestro desde Cartagena, Colombia. So we got folks in Cartagena. And Oscar, they giving you a round of applause, welcoming you to the show. Ceci and Johnny, as always. So Oscar, Jimmy, it was the connection between you two. And Jimmy has been working with you for some time now since you moved to the West Coast, right?
That's correct. Jimmy, the first time I played with him here in LA, he brings a beautiful approach to, for me, I mean, I'm a Latin music musician. So the fact that he understands that completely and then can bring all the other nuances of jazz, of samba, of whatever you want to pop, or whatever you want to integrate into your music, he brings it all. So he's, there's a lot of great drummers as we know, but for this music, he's absolutely, on the top of the heap. And as a person, Carol knows you're not going to get a better person than him. He completely is in tune with the team concept, doesn't have an agenda. His agenda is like mine. We're a slave to the music. And when Carol brings me this project, I'm going to say, okay, how could I make this happen, for her? Really, because I love the music. And as you play Con Fue right now, and I was going like, oh.
It's beautiful.
I mean, it's beautiful. It's just amazing. When I listen to that, there's no words. We put it together. I mean, she put it together because, it may sound like I'm playing piano, but it's not me, it's her.
I know, it's Carol.
She totally honed into what was needed for all of these songs. I mean, I made a few suggestions here and there, but the truth of the matter is she's that amazing. So it brings me joy to listen to how beautiful this record came out. And I told her, Carol, as you know, I told you, I said, the one thing I can guarantee you, Carol, is that this is going to be a great record musically. Can't guarantee that it's going to sell 1 or 2 records. I don't know that. But musically, and I feel totally that's the case. So it's pretty cool.
No, it is the case. It is the case. And so, I think about Jimmy because he also, from what I understand, this is what I perceive, listening to music and then write the liner notes, or not liner notes, the credits on the videos you've shared. He's a tech whiz as well. He's a tech whiz, which is something that, it's an asset to not only have those skills that you spoke of and talent as a drummer, but to also have this, ability to do all the things. Tell me, please, what role he played. Carol gave us an example when she was up in Canada. Tell me how he integrated himself to help that happen.
Well, the sound that you hear is basically him. He mixed the record. I know they mastered it up in Canada, but the truth is, whoever mastered it was a piece of cake, because what he gave them as a final mix was kick butt, to the max. And that's why I love, I'm working with Jimmy. I suggest a few things here and there, but he's totally honed into what needs to happen. I mean, a few things, as a producer, I'll say, no, look, I changed this, or maybe what about this, or I'll suggest this. And he'll go, oh, wow, yes. But the truth of the matter is, he's able to create the sound that I have in my head and in my heart. And Carol's worked with him for 15 years, so she knows. It's nice when you can have somebody that you work with that brings that to the table. And it's totally, there's no ego involved. The ego is getting the absolute best from music. And that's what we're about. I don't have an ego when it comes to that. To me, and at the end of the day, that you love what you do. I mean, I listen to it now. It's like I haven't heard that song now for 4 or 5 months. But now that you played it, I'm like, oh man, it's gorgeous. It's exactly the way I felt when we finished the album. Every single track, I absolutely love it. And she brings a musicality and a sensibility to the music that, I mean, even I wish I had to a point. I have my own, things that I could make happen, but she's got a special gift. And you could tell, somebody like Carol, you could tell they've been doing this since they were young. And she's, it's in her blood. So and it's beautiful to watch that, from a from an objective, perspective, to go like, wow, even when she touches the keys, how she moves, is, she's got it.
Oscar, I'm going to call you up when I'm feeling down, if you don't mind.
No, but that's high praise. That's honest praise from someone who knows the difference between A and B, right? So you're getting it from the heart, and you're getting it from somebody who has the experience. Carol, you mentioned Juan Luis participated in the video, so let's talk about that as well, because one thing was for him to say yes, that he would record his voice, which obviously he recorded in Dominican Republic, but the other thing would be, Juan Luis, I got this idea, I'd like to do a video. Do you mind doing that? Talk about how that happened. ¿Cómo fue que pasó eso? Que Juan Luis no solamente dice, sí, voy a cantar contigo la canción, sino también voy a participar en el video que tú tienes en mente.
Fue difícil porque estuvimos en este periodo de COVID. Y no podíamos hacer un video, grabar juntos aquí en Los Ángeles o en Canadá o en Santo Domingo. Y mi publicista me sugirió, dice, ¿por qué no haces un concurso en las redes sociales para ver gente que baila a la canción Si tú no bailas conmigo, Dance With Me, y te sube los videos, las imágenes, y escogen lo que es bueno para el video. Y empezamos así. Después me dije, pero sería perfecto maravilloso Juan Luis que participa. Un día le escribí y me dijo, Carol, lo siento que no tengo nadie aquí para grabar, para ayudarme. Y después de 2 días me escribió otra vez, dice, probablemente voy a ver una persona aquí el jueves próximo y voy a tentar. Y nos envió sus imágenes. Una maravilla.
Qué bien, qué bien. Así que estuvo comprometido con el proyecto 100%.
Sí.
No, y le quedó muy bien. Personas que están viendo el video lo pueden ver en YouTube, Dance With Me, si me bailas conmigo, en el cual participa Carol, obviamente, y Juan Luis y otra persona bailando con la canción que fue parte de la propuesta, ¿no? Y dentro de eso quiero compartir algo personal. I'm going to share something with everybody here. So this past Labor Day, we had the family over for a get-together, and when everybody left, I said to Divina, I said, we're going to dance under the stars and the moon to Dance With Me. And she said, really? And I said, yeah, and when everybody leaves, we're going to dance to that. And so we danced, and we took a photo after we finished dancing. So that's Divina and I after we danced to the song, and we loved it. We just loved it. It was just like a perfect way of ending the celebration of Labor Day with Dance With Me and us dancing together. But it was the song. And I said, you know what? This is the kind of thing that everybody should at least try once. Dance with me under the stars, and it would be heaven. So I want to thank you for inspiring us. Oscar, yes.
You know, Jose, for me, I think when I think of Juan Luis' participation, first of all, when she told me that he said yes, I was dancing in my house, like wow, amazing. Yeah, I'm a huge Juan Luis fan. As all of us who are musicians, you can't help but be a fan because he puts out such great, incredible quality music. But I'm sure that he heard her version in English. And we're like, wow, this is such a cool perspective on my song. She wrote, the lyric is beautiful. I mean, when I heard it, I went like, Jesus. I mean, and I know the original, Si Tú No Bailas Conmigo, I know his original intent. So when I heard her version, I said, it couldn't be more perfect. And I'm sure he heard what I heard. We're like, wow, my song in English. What a beautiful way to interpret it in the English language. So I'm sure that he was happy to have that perspective put on his composition, and that's what probably prompted him to say, yes, I'm good with it, I'm down with it. And, the proof is in the pudding. When you hear it, you can't help but go like, wow, what a beautiful, beautiful song and the beautiful duet between both of them.
Both of them. No, I agree 100%. I think the lyrics and your interpretation, Carol, most likely cemented the deal, if you will. And also the fact that he had a chance to have you, share quality time with him and his wife and the family, the band, and all of you together. So you started establishing a friendship and a bond that went beyond just, a singer from nowhere asking him to sing a song. There was chemistry there that was very much part of this. So I want to make sure that people know that. So we are talking both with Carol Welsman and Oscar Hernández, my two guests. The production that we're speaking of is this one titled Dance With Me, and where we're going to hear momentarily the title track in which Carol sings along with Juan Luis Guerra. If any of you who are watching have some comments or questions, Alex Rodriguez says, so cool. Thank you, Alex. That is so cool. If you have any questions for our guests, please share them with us. Si tienen alguna pregunta o comentario, por favor, compartan con nosotros. Tenemos a Carol y tenemos a Oscar por un ratito, así que podemos compartir sus comentarios o las preguntas que tengan sobre lo que estamos compartiendo con ustedes. Y ya pronto vamos a escuchar la canción titular Dance With Me, Si Tú No Bailas Conmigo, en el cual Carol canta en inglés y Juan Luis canta en español, obviamente. Y también, I'm trying to remember if there's another recording. I know he's done his own recordings where he's had somebody sing with him, but I'm trying to think if he's ever been the guest with somebody else where he does that kind of duo, and I don't think I've heard him do that. I'm gonna have to really scratch my head because I think this is the first time I've heard this type of duality, right? Where one person's singing in English and he's been singing in Spanish. So you've done a first. You've done something very unique in putting this together.
Well, I have to thank Oscar because it's my turn to give him praise. When he came over and I would play the demo for him, and he he said, "Oh, we've got to open this up and do this improv thing in the middle, and this is what you call a soneo. This is in Latin music." And I'm looking at this guy going, "I've never even heard that term before." I loved it, and so he wrote that whole thing. Now is the time to be dancing, which you'll hear, and we actually got Juan Luis to scat. I mean, it was great. We left these two parts open for him, and that's all Oscar. I'm telling you, that sewed it up for me. That, like, the song is great because it's a beautiful song, but Oscar, you knocked it out of the park.
There you go. No, yeah. I love that. And Oscar, you said that you were following Carol. Carol, you've recorded, just so folks know, you've recorded at least a dozen albums or something of that nature, right? It's not like you started yesterday. You have a track record of many albums under your belt. So your repertoire, like you said, didn't start yesterday. You are a seasoned veteran of the recording industry and, been nominated for Junos, which will be the equivalent of Grammys here. So it wasn't like this is your first time out or the first time, riding a pony. You've done this, but this is the first time you've done it in this type of setting. There's something, this is why I love Jose and Constanza interviews and what the guests share are so awesome that it's like I'm there experiencing the love for the music. Hey, yes, that's why we do it. I want to share the love that people have, the passion that they have for the music. And it's so important. Oscar and I have had this conversation about the role that musicians and artists play every day, and especially now. And so when this album came out, and one of the reasons why Divina and I danced, there's another reason, but one of the reasons why we danced Under the Stars and the Moon to your song after Labor Day was because we needed, to be in nature, at least be under the stars, be under the moon, with music as a way of filling our souls with love and with happiness, with joy, and at the same time with hope, right? Because so many things are coming at us like that, and you're always doing one of these numbers. So you needed something that would at least fill you with that kind of joy. And when I heard the song, that was the first thing that came to my mind. I said, this is love. This is nothing but love. Dance with me. What's a better thing than dance with me, right? And it doesn't matter if you're two adults dancing or two little kids dancing, whatever. Dancing is just such an expression of joy, of happiness, and then of love at the same time. So I appreciated the fact that you picked that one as the lead song, and the one that I think really captures what you were trying to do, which is that bicultural, bilingual, mix of how you can do these standards, as you call them, in Spanish, and adapt them into English, and then make them something very unique and very special. So that's a very special component of what this song is all about. So if you have comments, ladies and gentlemen, si tienen comentarios, por favor, hagan los comentarios. Si tienen preguntas, por favor, hagan las preguntas a la misma vez. Ya pronto, la cancioncita que tengo tocando en el trasfondo va a terminar y vamos a escuchar Dance With Me, Si No Bailas Conmigo, con Juan Luis Guerra como invitado. So, Oscar, as a producer, you've already sort of captured the role that you play, and you've sort of stated to us the role that Carol has played in this recording coming out to be exactly how you both collaboratively had envisioned it, right? What you both sort of said, okay, I think this is where we want to go with this is how we want to make it, et cetera, et cetera. I'm thinking of, Justo Mario playing the flute and saxophone. I'm thinking about Renee. I'm thinking about Jimmy. I'm thinking about the whole combination of the instruments that you have. When you were doing the arrangements, did you already in your mind figure out, okay, the arrangements are going to be based on these particular moment in time of who I've got playing, or how did you tackle the arrangements?
No, some people say they write for the musicians. I write for the artist in this case. And everything to me as a producer comes down to, it all starts with the song or the songs. And we had that going in. When I got together with Carol and we went over the songs, we went back and forth. But the crux of what she initially showed me, I said, yes, 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 yes. We had a couple of question marks, but then we filled it out as to we got all the songs. So once we had the songs that I knew, that's one. Mm-hmm. Once you have the songs, then the arrangements, that's a piece of cake. It's the easy part for me. And once you have the musicians, in LA, as you know, I'm from New York. And since I've been in LA, to be able to play with Jimmy on drums, Rene Camacho doesn't get better than him on the bass, Seriously, he's got incredible swing. incredible feel, and he's got incredible technique. He's really a polished player, but who understands, because if he understands the elements of jazz, because he's
Here
a
we
jazz
go.
player.
Let me interrupt you. Listen.
Right on.
The sun embraces the morning, the eagle flies with the dove. A raindrop kisses the flower, the moon has stars up above. The night is craving a partner, the party's down by the sea. Now is the time to be dancing, I hope you dance with me.
La lluvia con el naranjo, la niebla con el cristal, la albahaca tiene un colmillo que le espera en el rosal.
I've seen a sky full of diamonds sway with the clouds on the breeze.
Si tú no bailas conmigo,
the music leads to romancing. The moment's ours to be dancing, I hope you dance with me. I've seen the waltz of the snowflakes twirling along till they land. The rolling dice do the salsa here in the palm of my hand. And like Gene Kelly and Hayworth, I twist and turn, set them free. They say it takes two to tango, I hope you dance with me.
la yuca con el jengibre en un pilón de manjar se almidonaban de besos apretaditos en vals.
Just like the wind has the willow surrendering to a song, now is the time to be dancing.
Si tú no bailas conmigo,
the moment's ours to be dancing, I hope you dance with me.
now is the time to be dancing. The music leads to romance. Now is the time to be dancing. The music leads to romance. Si tú no bailas conmigo, prefiero no bailar, no. Now is the time to be dancing. The music leads to romance. Now is the time to be dancing. The music leads to romance. Si tú no bailas conmigo, amor.
I've seen the waltz of the snowflakes twirling along till they land. The rolling dice do the salsa here in the palm of my hand. And like Gene Kelly and Hayworth, a twist and turn set them free. They say it takes two to tango, I hope you dance with me.
La yuca con el jengibre en un pilón de manjar se almidonaban de besos apretaditos en vals.
Just like the wind has the willow surrendering to a song, now is the time to be dancing.
Si tú no bailas conmigo,
the moment's ours to be dancing, I hope you dance with me. La 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 la, la la la
Kudos to both
It's hard
of you.
to sit still.
It's a great tune. And you know, you really get to appreciate how the band is so in the pocket, right? I was listening to Jimmy doing his thing, and then I was listening to Renee doing his thing on bass, and then Joey's in there as well. poniendo su granito con la tumbadora. And then you on piano and vocals, and of course, Justo and Mario, and how, everything just gelled in such a beautiful way. And it reminded me a little bit, when Juan Luis was here at Berkeley, similar to when you were here at Berkeley, he fell in love with Manhattan Transfer, right? The voices of being able to do what they used to do. And so his first album they recorded back in Dominican Republic was sort of like a takeoff on the Manhattan Transfer as far as how they did the vocalizing. It was a commercial flop, if you will, but at least he set the tone as to what you could expect from his voices with 440 and him, et cetera, et cetera. So this one had that little taste of, how to use the voices, especially in a duet, where they complement each other so beautifully. I mean, there were some moments there I was just saying, wow, they're perfectly blended. A perfect blend of voices, you in English, him in Spanish, then, scatting and everything else. And here you get another review on the spot, real time, beautiful collaboration. It's a delightful fusion. Yes, a delightful fusion it is. That alone, congratulations. What can I say? That's a beautiful rendition of a beautiful song. But I love the spirit of collaboration and that it has this bilingualism, biculturalism, because it's not just a one-way street. It's really, a coming together between the cultures.
And the English lyric is also well thought out in terms of very respectfully done with class and sophistication. For me, so kudos to Carol on that. She's the personification of that, as an artist in many ways.
No, I love that. So we've got David Romero, our dear friend who's in Vegas. Both Justo and Mario and Rene Camacho are dear friends of mine for many, many years. Justo, one of Mongo Summer's alumni, and Rene I met when he still lived in Tucson, Arizona back in the 80s, along with Joey De Leon. Oscar and Miss Welsman have created True Gem. Congratulations. Another review, real time, right there.
Well, thank you, David. He's an excellent musician and, been around like us and knows the deal. So coming from him, it's much appreciated.
Yeah, that's for real. And then there's a question for you. Victor says, welcome, Maestro Hernandez. Question from Ms. Wilson. Where in Canada can we go for Latin? Canada is pretty big, but, where would you suggest if we went to Montreal, Toronto, or anywhere of those places? Where would you go for Latin?
Do you know, I've been gone for so long. I have to say, there's so many wonderful Latin musicians who live in Canada. And a lot of Cuban musicians, especially. And so there are clubs in Toronto and Montreal and Vancouver. I would say that there's a good spread of, I think the best thing to do is just Google Latin music in Toronto venues and when we're able to play again. But, there's a lot
of Latinos up there as well. So I've experienced it. And there's a lot of people who dance salsa. So you'll find that everywhere in any of the big cities. I've been to Calgary, I've been to Winnipeg, I've been to Ottawa, I've been to obviously Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver. So you'll find it's up there. Believe me,
it's part of the fabric as far as social.
Yeah.
So thinking along the line of COVID-19, how it's impacted us. Any thought that maybe there could be a possibility of a virtual concert of Dance With Me?
Wow.
Well, we actually did a sort of a CD release performance here in my living room. As you can see, we're blessed with a fairly big room here, so we were able to distance. And it aired on Stage It live, and you can't record on Stage It, so we don't have a reproduction of that. However, there is a concert that was canceled on March 20th due to COVID, and I got a call from the presenter just 3 days ago, and this is in Lakeland, Ohio, and he said that they want to honor the date. They want to do a virtual performance in March. So I think we're going to get together and we're going to record a whole bunch of the music from the album and be able to present it, because it really is, everybody's comfortable enough to come here now. We were all wearing masks until we sit down and play. And again, we're all 6 feet apart. So
sure.
We'll do it. And Oscar will have to be there to direct traffic. Okay, Oscar?
I think that'd be great. I mean, again, that may be the new reality, at least for the short term, the next year or so. God willing, it won't be 2 years, but it could be 2021, 2022 before we really get back into, travel and the freedom to do the things that we've been used to doing to some degree. But in the meantime,
but Jose, you know what?
Yeah.
Let me interject. I think that we have to let people understand that, it's important that we get the support from people.
Mm-hmm.
Because right now I had the idea to do a virtual concert in New York with Spanish Harlem Orchestra, and a couple of big venues told me, man, it's an amazing idea. We love it, but we don't have a budget. So for me to make it happen, I'm actually doing a virtual concert with my quintet. I'm in the process of formulating, but I got a grant from CMA, all right?
Okay.
To help make it happen, from Chamber of Music America. But the truth of the matter is it'd be awesome if the people, the public in general who loves music, understand that they have to support it. We're not talking about, donating a lot of money. We're talking about just supporting. Sometimes it's a $10 download. That's all it is.
Right.
We're not asking you to donate money to us, to make the effort to actually make a purchase, to download, something. I've been dealing with that with, the last production I did with Marco, and I don't think people fully understand that, we're doing something that costs us money. We went into a studio, we paid for an engineer, we paid the musicians. It's not cheap. But we can't do it without the support. So I hope to God that Carol gets to do a virtual concert. And if I had the money, I would sponsor it, myself. Honestly, I believe that much in the music. But it's an uphill battle for sure.
No, I agree. I understand, and I agree totally. I think it's a mindset, right, where we have to be able to, as consumers, say we're not just consumers, and we shouldn't see the digital or social media as a freebie. We should see it as a mechanism, especially now, for both the artists to be able to do their craft, perform, and two, for us as an audience to be able to enjoy the performance in in our living rooms, right? So it's basically, we'll have those who have 26-inch monitors or whatever the TV monitors are. I have no idea, but they will be able to enjoy a quality, high definition, great sound performance live of Carol and the band. And the cost, it would be similar to, if you remember the days, Oscar, when it was, if you wanted to see Muhammad Ali box, it was pay TV. That was the only way you were going to watch the fight, right? Sure. You had to pay. Either you went to where he was boxing, which was already sold out, or you had to pay. It wasn't free on ABC, NBC, or CBS. You had to pay. So we have to start acculturating, informing, and bringing people to understand that we play a role in the ecosystem, which is the way I always try to share this with folks, and making all of this circular activity work, right? Because if we support you, you're able to continue performing, producing, creating, and then in turn what we receive for whatever support we give is the happiness and the joy that your music brings to each and every one of us. And this album is a perfect example. If there's an album that, I would recommend people to pick up, is this one, because of what you try to do in that collaboration and that fusion and that cross-pollination of, culture and language, which I think now more than ever. And Carol, when you started talking about you learning Spanish because you live in LA, how can you not learn Spanish, right? Think about the other people who think differently. Say, wait a minute, I live in LA. Why don't these people speak English? You're in America now. You're in LA. Why don't you learn to speak English, right? I'm not saying, I'm just, let's pivot for a second. You took a different approach. Instead of it, hey, I live in LA, y'all should be speaking English. You said, I live in LA. It's Spanish spoken here a lot. I should learn how to speak Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Very different approach.
Yeah, I just found too that whenever I'm out socially, or if I'm in a store and I see somebody or I hear somebody speaking Spanish, I might start speaking Spanish, and people are so grateful. Like and I feel so. I feel like I'm showing off. I feel like I want to. I mean, but I love to speak it. It's so much fun, and I get treated so well. I go to certain stores where like food places, like delis and things, and they bring out the freshest of everything. It's like, and they run to say hello, and it's a beautiful it's a wonderful way to live, to be able to speak multiple languages.
Amen. It's
Yeah.
about communication, being able to communicate, and the more you're able to communicate, the better we are as people, and as a community, as a country, as a society, as a world. So that translates into that whole concept, which is awesome. I mean, I wish I could speak other languages, but I made it an effort because I'm born and raised here. So I made it an effort para asegurar que yo puedo hablar el idioma mío, que son de mis padres, y hablarlo como se debería hablar, ¿no?
No, eso es cierto. Y lo otro que iba a decir y comentar es, hay el pensar, ¿no? Siempre se ha dicho que la música, especialmente el jazz, es el idioma internacional, ¿no? Que donde quiera que se toca, no importa si es en Tokio, Japón, si es... Universal, ¿no? El idioma universal. Y es un ejemplo, el disco es un ejemplo de cuán universal puede ser la música cuando el artista intenta por lo menos hacer ese junte, ¿no? Hacer esa conexión, cruzar y decir, miren, me encanta estos ritmos, me encanta la melodía, me encanta. ¿Cómo sonaría esto si lo hago en inglés? ¡Pam! ¿No? Y entonces ya ahí hay una combinación interesante, ¿no? Canciones latinas con melodía y canción cantadas en inglés. ¿Y qué pasaría si lo hago otro paso más, donde yo canto en inglés y la otra persona canta en su idioma natal en español? Así que ya va otro paso de combinación de lo que puede ser posible, right? So you basically stretched the envelope. You said, I'm going to try this and I'm going to try this, and I'm going to surround myself, like you said, with these musicians who this is second nature to them. This is what they eat, live, and drink every single day, even though they are all very adept at playing all these other genres, like Jimmy is and Justo is and Renee is. They can play whatever, right? But that is what I find to be, in my mind, what makes this worthy of praise, number one, support, number two, and three, of us listening to and acknowledging as being cutting edge as far as what we could do with our music and how we can make it very special. Let me get some things here. Sandra Jesus says, hola Jose, hola Sandra, qué alegría ver tu nombre ahí. Victor, are there additional plans collaborating with Oscar and other Latin artists? Okay. So this is your first step into this world. Would you consider part two, like Nat King Cole did with, Nat King Cole Español again? Would that be a consideration?
As long as Oscar thinks my Spanish is good enough. I'd love to.
I think that it's a no-brainer for Carol. It's a no-brainer for me, but that's not, we're not the ones.
Yeah.
It comes back to getting the support. You know what I mean? If you feel that, and that's not only with the public, with presenters, club owners, with promoters, with festivals, who see the importance of what we're doing and say, I mean, it's similar to what I've had with Spanish Harlem Orchestra, where world concept festivals say, man, these guys, they're Latin, but they bring something unique to the table. You know what I mean? And we want them. So it's the same thing with Carol. I think that she brings something beautiful and unique, and it needs to be supported. That's what I have to say. And not only, the world needs to support it. And it's a shame when it doesn't get the support that it really merits, because sometimes you as an artist think, well, maybe I didn't do good enough, or maybe it wasn't good enough. I told her, and I'll put my, I have no problem with saying what I feel. The album is kick ass.
It is. It is. No, it is. It is.
No, the truth of the matter is, there's no, it didn't sell. I don't care if it sold, it didn't sell. And the thing is, Carol, and I told her, we can look back at this 15 years from now, listen to it like I'm listening to it now, going like, oh man, it's great. And that's the one thing I can hang my head on at the end of the day, Jose, that the stuff that I've done, I could look back, and it happens to me all the time. They'll play something that I did 15 years ago, like, wow, that shit sounds great.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. The quality, you're always aspiring for quality. So, Carol, talk to us about the reception. So I read a few reviews, which are exceptional reviews. The one I shared on my Facebook page today, the essay, speaks about that trajectory that you've had of all these albums, but it also speaks about that this was not just happenstance, right? That this was really, wow, this is Carol showcasing something that is both part of who she is, right? Because you celebrate, they spoke about an album title, I think it was titled Journey. Journey, in which I think the writer alludes to the fact that you celebrate that multiculturalism. You celebrate how you've traveled the world and you've, embraced all these different rhythms and sounds and songs and things of that nature. And so how has been the reception as far as radio, if there's such a thing as radio these days? I don't even know if there's radios that does. I mean, I have a radio show, but again, how has been the reception as far as those who know you for what you've done prior to this?
The reception overall has been very positive. I mean, and I think, honestly, I think that the idea of the video was the sort of the icing on the cake, because it was a way to expose that Juan Luis's beautiful song and then have the community participating in something together during the lockdown. I mean, we're also talking, Jose, about a record that was released July 31st. Yep. And so it's in the middle of the summer, everybody's at home. I was, it's not the traditional thing. I was actually contacting, thanks to Oscar, you and some of the other radio DJs to say, listen, you made, here's my new album, and Oscar gave me a wonderful introduction to you. This is kind of a foray into a whole new world for me, because, and so I think it has received airplay. I know that, and I've done some really nice interviews. The one thing that in the press, especially because I have a Hispanic publicist as well, guess who they want? Juan Luis. They want Juan Luis con Caro, and like to do an interview, and he's very, very private about all that stuff. Like I knew that I was so lucky to have him participate as much as he did. So they might eventually air it on Univision TV. That's what they promised. But so we're dealing with a huge challenge of an album being released in a pandemic. But I know that Real Jazz is embracing it. I've actually done a half-hour radio show for them. Good. And as if I was just sitting in a club and playing just piano and voice, and singing to some of the tracks and playing new solos on them. So, and they're going to be programming some of that. But there's a huge delay. This is coming up. It hasn't happened yet. So it's interesting. I wish I could say. I know it's in the works at the Grammys as far as it was submitted in 4 or 5 categories, and I have tremendous competition in the Latin jazz category because Oscar Hernández also has an album in the same category. So
I told her I win both ways. So.
Yeah, Oscar says, "Hey, thank you." No, I understand that. Well, I think I've mentioned this, and this is again, I'm going to repeat this. The fact that Oscar, that you've been busy during this period of time, to me is a tribute to who you are. Yep. It's a tribute to the passion you have for this music, but it's also a sense of there's a book, Who Moved My Cheese, right? And I don't know if you read that book, but
heard about
it. It's a fable. Basically, it's like two mice who always go to the same place, and they find cheese and they eat it and they're fairly satisfied. One day they show up and the cheese wasn't there. Then the next day they show up, the cheese wasn't there. And every day they show up, the cheese wasn't there. And somebody, one of the two mice, well, who moved my cheese? What's going on? The cheese is gone. And this continues. Then one of the two mice says, you know what? I'm not coming back here because there's no cheese. I'm going to go find where there's some new cheese. And he goes out until he finds the new cheese. But the other one continuously came back expecting that the cheese would be there. He didn't wake up to the idea, it's gone. You've got to adapt to a new world. You got to do something different. You got to venture out there. Don't be scared. Mm-hmm. And so this pandemic, in many ways, is that they've moved our cheese, right? Mm-hmm. And so the downside is that people in the industry that you are in, entertainment, regardless if it's Broadway, clubs, concert tours, recordings, etc., have been impacted because that cheese is your livelihood. It's not just that this is what you eat. This is how you live. But Oscar and you, Carol, show me that A, when you have passion, B, when you have tenacity, right? Because you mentioned you're catching a cold, going to Canada, et cetera, you make things happen regardless, right? So it's not like both of you are sitting there going, well, until the concerts come back, until whatever, we'll sit here and wait, and then we'll release the album, and then by that time, good things will happen. You're sort of like saying, no, let's move ahead, let's create new ways, let's make new things happen, let's adapt to what's going on. Carol, you gave an example. You adapted. Okay, let me reach out to this guy. Let me reach out to this other person. Oscar is helping with this, et cetera, et cetera. So we've had to recreate because the cheese has been moved. Here's a song I want to end up with. I think I have a song to end up with. Here we go. Something that was lively. What was it? Here. Give me a second. This one. Here it is. Listen to this.
Island lullaby, sing to me a while under your starry sky. Whisper sweet and low the words I love you so on this moonlit night. Island melody, say you stay with me no matter how far away I roam. You're my song of love, all I'm dreaming of, where my heart is home. Oh, oh, let the music of my guitar lead me to where you are. Island, oh, oh, hear the rhythm it calls to me, suddenly I am free. Island lullaby, lazy breezes sigh in your endless summertime. In the setting sun, the sand and sea are one, how we harmonize. Island melody, diamond in the sea, with you I can never feel alone. You're my song of love, all I'm dreaming of, where my heart is home. Oh, oh, let the music of my guitar lead me to where you are. Island, oh,
So this one here is one of the two tracks that you composed, Carol. Island Lullaby has a little bit of calypso sound to it, which makes it lively and fun. I can imagine folks hearing this and their minds quickly going to, yeah, I want to be there sipping my daiquiri or whatever it is that they're going to sip, my piña colada. But it's another way that you've contributed using the rhythms that you speak of, that you have fallen in love with. And una gran entrevista, o sea, un palo de jonrón con la base llena. All right, thank you, Eduardo. I'm glad that you enjoy that. Ceci and Johnny are dancing. My dear friend Michael Bermudez sends us some Marquito, love it, etc. So we conclude with this, but again, Carol, mi casa es su casa. Cuando quieras, estás invitada para el programa cuando quieras. Tú me dices, José, ¿puedo visitar? La puerta está abierta. Oscar, ya tú sabes que eso siempre existe para ti. Le doy las gracias a ambos por pasar tiempo conmigo esta tarde, un par de días antes de las elecciones. Así que ustedes, por lo menos, traen un poco de tranquilidad, un poco de amor, un poco de paz en el día. También un poco de esperanza por medio de las canciones y la música que tienen tanto amor, que tiene tanta pasión, que tiene tanto que decir y compartir. Así que agradezco que ustedes fueran parte de la programación esta tarde. Así que le doy las gracias a ambos. I want to thank both of you. And for those of you who are watching, this weekend I purposely made it so it would be like this with Luba Mason, our guest yesterday, and Carol and Oscar were my guests today, because I was thinking if there's a way for us to be ready for the next couple of days and beyond, it had to be through music, and it had to be music where there was a cross collaboration, where it wouldn't be a repetition of what we expect. It would be something very different, right? So I love arroz con habichuela, arroz con pollo, but from time to time I like to eat something that's very different, that nourishes me and turns me on to a whole different part of my palate. And so my hope was that this weekend, through Luba Mason yesterday, Carol, you, and Oscar today, we have turned people on to another part of the palette that they should be enjoying when it comes to music, and also that sends a message with regards to life. So I just want to thank both of you for doing that. Oscar.
Well, thank you. And I'll just say something before I leave the last word to Carol. First of all, thank you, Jose, for what you do. I mean, it's amazing that you've been on the air for so long, and that's a tribute to who you are and how you do what you do, and the quality and integrity of what you do. So I'm honored to be your friend, and thank you, from the bottom of my heart, for the support and love that you feel for the arts and for music and for our music, and culture. It's like there's no words. And I know you're always there because, we don't talk all the time. We don't see each other time, but there's a bond that we've had that goes back close to, I don't know, we're talking about like 35 years or something already.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. Yeah.
But again, honored to be part of just putting my little grain of sand, and when you get to put that little grain of sand with people such as Carol Welsman, you are a blessed person. So with that, I'll leave the last word to Carol. Carol, I love you. Gracias.
There you go.
Love you too, Oscar. And Jose, you're such a pleasure to have in our world. And yes, I concur with everything Oscar said about it's wonderful that you're able to spread the love through playing all of our music, and we love the support. And it's funny, my brother texted me earlier before I came on, and he said, "Oh, this music is beautiful." So he's a new fan of your show, and thank you so much for having us and for saying so many beautiful things about the music.
Paz, bendiciones y mucho H para ambos y para su familia. Así que les quiero mucho. Dios los bendiga. God bless. Be well. Thank you so much. Yes, Divina will say thank you as well. Take care, Carol. So with that, we conclude. Victor says, gracias to your guests and for the willingness to expose us to another musical venue. Thank you. Ceci says, who ate my cheese? Ceci, stay right there. Don't go too far. I'm going to go to my library, which is right next door, and find a book so I can show you all the book that I'm talking about. In the meantime, listen to this and I'll be right back. No se vayan, quiero enseñarle un libro y luego me despido. Okay, no se vayan, por favor, no se vayan. Don't go, stay right there. Promise me you won't go. I'll be right back. So before you leave, before I say adios, this book titled Barack Obama Speeches. The last speech in the book is the one he gave upon leaving office. It was titled The Farewell Address in 2017. I'm just going to read the last paragraphs. He says, I am asking you to hold fast to that faith written into our founding documents, that idea whispered by slaves and abolitionists, that spirit sung by immigrants and homesteaders and those who march for justice, that creed reaffirmed by those who planted flags from foreign battlefields to the surface of the moon, a creed at the core of every American whose story is not yet written. Yes, we can. Yes, we did. Yes, we can. Thank you. May God continue to bless the United States of America, and God bless you. And so with that, ladies and gentlemen, I conclude the program today, and I say, yes, we can. But it means that each and every single one of us has to do our role to make change happen and do the right thing, regardless of where we live. I live in Massachusetts. I'm going to try to make sure that my friends in Florida, in Pennsylvania, in Ohio, in Texas, in Minnesota, in Michigan, and all those other places do the right thing, in Wisconsin as well. Yes, we can, but we only can do it through the vote and being strong. And remember, at those moments when we're being challenged, just take a second, breathe in, and when you breathe in peace, and when you breathe out love. Okay? I love you. God bless you. Che, for each and every one of you. Latino, defienda lo tuyo con orgullo. Todos unidos entre amigos. Uno para todos y todos para uno. En nombre mío, José Mazó. Hasta el próximo fin de semana cuando regresamos otra edición más de Con Salsa en Vivo aquí en Facebook y YouTube. Gracias por la atención prestada. Y el martes, hagan lo correcto, por favor. Y si tienen amistades, familia en otros estados, en Florida, en Pennsylvania, en Wisconsin, en Michigan, en Minnesota, en Texas, en Ohio, que por favor hagan lo mismo, que hagan lo correcto. ¿Ok? Sí se puede. Sí se puede. Bueno, bendiciones para cada uno de ustedes. God bless each and every one of you. And Dave Romero, my buddy, he says it right there, Biden-Harris on Tuesday, God willing. Okay? And thank you, Victor. God bless you too. And Ceci said, bendiciones. Everyone, please vote. There we go. Okay. Appreciate each and every one of you for being part of the Con Salsa family today. God bless you. We'll see you next week, God willing. And this song is to you.